G'day, I'm Al McGlashan and welcome to this exclusive presentation by the Game Fishing Association of Australia. In this action-packed show, we're going to show you a few tips and techniques to help you catch big fish. The open ocean covers 2/3 of the earth. A seemingly endless blue, it is home to an amazing array of life, from your simple jellyfish through to the fearsome great white shark. But it is the game fish that really excite the anglers. Hooking up to a high-flying black marlin or a powerhouse of a tuna is an adrenaline rush like no other. And the passion that anglers have for these fish is greater than the ocean is deep. Australia, it really is a lucky country when it comes to fishing, especially game fishing. We have an amazing array of fish, from your kingfish to your mahi, from your barramundi to your mackerel. And of course your tuna, including those huge southern bluefin. And let's not forget the sharks, especially the hard-fighting mako. At the top of the list we have the billfish, from the sailfish to the magical giant black marlin. Catching these big fish is the pinnacle of anyone's fishing career. Doesn't matter whether you're chasing records or being involved in tag and release, you've got to be a member of a game fishing club. Next, we're going to explain the rules and regs that are most important, that you must know. We're going to hear from a few experts why they're crucial, but first, let's see where it all began.
Australian anglers are thrilling to a new sensation. They have discovered in their own waters the world's greatest fighting fish, the black marlin, the striped marlin and the broad-billed swordfish.
Back in the day, it was pipe-smoking gentlemen going to sea in wooden boats wearing suits. Life was very different.
Back in the early days of game fishing, Dr. Lidwell, fishing out of Port Stephens, went out to sea in an old little boat, and he came back in and presented the first black marlin that was ever caught in Australian waters that we know of. All the people that used to go game fishing were dressed up in coats and ties and top hats, and there was even one instance of a man catching a marlin in a rowboat. He was dressed up in his suit and tie.
And here he comes. Look well out over the edge of the boat and you can see the white foam which indicates his splashing frenzy to be free of the hook. And now the fight is on properly. Muscle against fin, and a fish which later turned out to weigh 380 pounds makes frantic endeavours to free itself. It crashes backwards and forwards, darts away, swims towards the boat, jumps from the water, stands on its tail, leaps in a frantic thrashing endeavour to be free. And the fisherman still holds on.
The government back in the early days wanted something to celebrate for the 150-year celebrations, so the government, with encouragement of some of the early pioneers of game fishing, struck a trophy, and the government funded that trophy, and it was for the heaviest game fish caught in Australia. A young lady by the name of Jess Sams was fishing on one of the earlier pioneer boats, and she caught the first marlin in that period of time. Back in the early days, the founders of game fishing didn't particularly want to give the trophy to a lady, so there was big discussions and big meetings about that particular issue, and then they could find that there was no breach of the rules, so they actually had to give the trophy to the lady. And that trophy is still with us today. It is called the Jess Sams Trophy, and currently GFAA holds that trophy in protection, and it's in the vault at the Commonwealth Bank in Martin Place at the present moment. It's a very valuable trophy.
How was that? And we think we have it tough some days. Well, that was then and this is now, and everything has changed.
Women are a very big part of our sport now. In actual fact, if you take the membership of GFAA currently, which is just over 8,000 people, there is nearly 1,000 women involved in the sport. Game fishing today has evolved into In a lot of instances big boats, but there's still a lot of people that are fishing out of small boats, little trailer boats, etc. So it's a sport that anyone can do. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, you can still do game fishing.
Plus, with tag and release, we're playing an important role, not just in conservation, but in marine research. But first, we need to go through a few of the rules and regulations that you must know. Now, pay attention, because if you don't listen and you get them wrong, the consequences can be dire. Only recently, there was a tournament at Port Stephens up on the New South Wales north coast. The winning fish got disqualified because the leader was just 5 centimetres over. So who better to help us than the rules and regulations than Otto from the Game Fishing Association?
Well, there's a leader length requirement on the different line sizes, 10 kilo and below, maximum leader and double of 20 feet with neither one exceeding 15 feet, and 15 kilo through to 60 kg, a combined length of 40 feet with neither the leader or the double exceeding 30 feet. Well, it's all fairly simple really. You're allowed a maximum of 2 hooks in each lure. You can rig it with 1 or 2 hooks, just so long as some part of the actual hook is still within the skirt, it's legal. It doesn't matter whether the hooks are in line, back to back, no size specific, it's all irrelevant. Just as long as some part of the hook is enclosed in the skirt, it's all fine. And the other thing to watch for if you're using 2 hooks is the eye of that hook cannot pass the bend of that hook. There have been some changes recently with the hard-bodied lures and jigs. Specifically regarding the assist hooks, the length of the cord attaching to the hook can only be a maximum of 1.5 times the length of the hook and no longer than 4 inches in total length of the cord. So as you can see, this is not legal because that cord length is more than 1.5 times the length of the hook, whereas this one on the back here is legal. And just because you buy something from a shop expecting it to be legal, ready to go, it's not the case. That's straight out of a fishing tackle shop, not GFAA tournament legal. Well, the long and the short is there's too many rules to explain here and now. The GFAA puts out a journal every year. It's got every rule and regulation in there with all the specific lengths and measurements. You've got to learn it and follow them.
So, check your leaders, make sure those hooks are within the regulations, and of course, take your GFAA handbook out with you every time, because that way you can make your record a reality. I spoke to Murrifin skipper Roddy Finlay about how he fishes to the rules and regulations.
Well, one trick you can do is fish all your leaders under the maximum 15-foot length, so the leader can travel from any line class, and then if you need a longer leader, you can fish it on a 15 kilo and above with a wind-on leader. So any bait or lure can travel to any rod and still be legal length.
Now, that was a great tip from Roddy. Coming up, we're going to show you how to claim a record and make sure you do it right, because one little mistake and it's all over. But first, let's look at a crucial stage, and that is how to fight a fish within the rules and regulations. So we headed off to Jervis Bay to chase the mighty yellowfin tuna. We're out working about 25 miles out. We're trolling for tuna. Now, we looked at the sea surface temperature charts and we saw some good water down here. It's about 25 miles out. What we've done is we pulled up a bit early, we put the trolling gear in, and what we're doing now is we're looking. These charts will only give you around, an estimated area. So now we're looking for the birds. We've got the gear in, but we've gone one step further. We've got a pile of cubes there. So the minute Craig hooks up, we're going to start throwing cubes. But to double up even more, we've got a live bait there. So with the hook up, we'll keep going forward, try and get another one, or maybe 2, 3 on the lures as well. Start throwing cubes and throw a live bait to make the most of that hookup and catch you a few fish. So now all we've got to do is find ourselves a yellowfin. Now, game fishing is often described as hours of boredom and minutes of mayhem. Go, over. Go, mate. Get the other gap. Get the gap. Got it. Underneath. Have you got any rope trim? That is huge. That's a big fish. But when that minute of mayhem happens, you need to have everything organised. Everyone needs to know what to do, and most importantly, they need to know the rules, just in case, catch that fish of a lifetime. Well, we've got the spread out, and what's most important, that every single outfit has been checked and rechecked, so everything is within the game fishing regulations. Now, on top of that, everyone on board knows the rules, and we have designated anglers and deckhands. That way, as soon as one of the rods goes off, our angler can worry about getting that, start fighting the fish, and the rest of the crew will bring the gear in. Well, we've finally done it. It's taken us a little while. We've got ourselves a nice yellowfin. Now, there's a lot of rules and regulations. They're a little bit boring, but they're really important for what we do, so we understand and have an equal playing field. Most importantly, and this is the paramount, is it's only the angler can touch the rod and the reel, so I can fight this fish. Now, if I'm getting tired, and say Craig turns around there, turn around for me, Craig. Now, if you just give me a hand lifting this rod up. See this? That is instantly illegal. You can't do that. Now, same goes for if I put the rod on here and have a rest and just sit there going. That's illegal. If we're about to put the harness on, we're about to get on. This is what I cannot do. I cannot put the rod in the rod holder like that and have a rest. Instantly illegal. Remember, the rules are you're fighting the fish. And it's the age-old saying, I suppose, or the whole thing the Game Fishing Associations is based on, is giving the fish a fair chance. So if we sit here and have a fight together on it and swap anglers, you can't do this. It's you versus the fish. Same goes for if we're putting the harness on and stuff. The correct way is, slide around. Now this is legal. He can help me put it on like that. But see, he's not touching the rod. Now, when we're fighting these fish, we can do it with the gimbal like this. If this fight continues and it's a good yellowfin, a good marlin, a good shark, whatever it is, we may have to swap over. For this, we put the harness on. And again, the rules are quite simple. He can help me put it on. It's a little bit fiddly, but Brad can help. He can clip this on so long as he doesn't touch the gear. See that? He hasn't touched the rod or reel. The other thing is if the line touches the boat. It's really important. Obviously, it's not good angling either. You've got to keep that line off, because if it rubs on the boat, it can... stubborn fish, this one. You know, you're fatiguing your line. You might wear and tear on it. So, and you can see there with it all harnessed up, I can get him out. As the fish comes up to the boat, we can unclip this stuff now. Now, my yellowfin, while we were talking, has wrapped on one of the other lines. Now, this is totally legal to untwist. See how he's not touching my rod at all? I'm working with him. The lines can touch. Now we're coming up to the closing stages of the fight, and this is where a lot of panic happens. If Craig grabs that double, as he's about to do, instantly illegal. However, let go again. If he grabs it, he's allowed to grab the leader. Now see the swivel, which has just gone down again? He can grab the leader. Now that's legal. If you've got a wind on, he can do that. Now, I put the drag down, he's going to bring it around. What the easiest way is with a big yellowfin like this one, is that we run a short leader. And that way, he doesn't have to put extra pressure on it. So now it's at the tip, and the gaff's in, just hold him there. Now, this is it. This is the closing stages. This is where it all comes together. We've got him on, gaffs are in, so it doesn't matter now. It's secured. Once the gaffs are in, we can put the rod in the rod holder, and we lift him up and over. Ready? Oh, that's a good yellow. Just hold him there, hold him there. How's that for a shot? Now that is a good yellowfin. And I'll tell you what, as you've seen, we've done it by the book, all the rules, everything. So if this fish is a record, we can claim it. We've worked bloody hard for this fish, I tell you. But we've done it all by the books. Our next step is to show you how to claim a record. Now this is a beautiful fish. Now it's not quite a record, but if it was, there's a few little tips and techniques that we need to follow to make sure if you want the record, you can claim it. Because if you've gone to all this effort, there's no point mucking up. And the first and foremost, you need your GFAA journal, the handbook. You've got to carry it to sea because it's essential. And there's a couple of things that we really must follow. Firstly, your line, your leader, your hook, 16 metres at the business end need to come in with this fish. And there's been many a tournament over the years that have been lost because the guys are throwing the leaders overboard. So not only do you need the leader, you've got to also have a photo of the fish, full length, so that they can ID it. And in the case of sharks, you need a photo of the teeth. And probably most importantly, you've got to weigh it on certified scales on land. You can't go to all this effort to catch this beautiful fish and, as all anglers aspire to, have a potential record only to lose it because you didn't follow the rules and all the things you're meant to do. Do it right and you might just get a record. That's one of the best runs I've seen for a long time. I tell you what, that baby was screaming.
For the first run like that one that it done, it's going to have to be over 100.
Hour and 10, still going strong. And loving it. There you go then, buddy. Deep the whole time, we haven't even had the leader up. Nothing. And I used to say, like all the smaller bluefin I've caught, you know, up to the 100 kilo mark, I've always found them real easy, you know, the hour's been the longest, and 2 hours. Look at this, still going.
Unbelievable fight this, never seen anything like it.
First time in 3 hours, 50 minutes, that we've even seen the fish turn on its side. This is ridiculous. No, Trev! Oh, hell, get the other gas, get the gas! Where? Sorry, y'all, I missed it. Jesus! I'll tell you what, we had him up, we had a shot, we missed it, now it's twice as hard. Holy moly. Well, 3.5 hours, we got a shot with the gaff and we missed it. And I'll tell you what, we're now up to 4.5 hours and fish doesn't want to come back. He's seen what's there, so we're in trouble now. Nice fish.
This is it, boys.
Okay. It's alright, Zen. We go. Yeah! I tell you what, we've done it again, man. We've done it again. Yeah! That is. That's a big fish. That is a big fish. Holy. Can't say that word, but holy cow! I'm shaking, I'm so excited. I should be buggered. I've been on this thing for 7 hours. Now, the only thing is I'm shouting because I'm so excited. Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at it, it's huge. Woo-hoo! We said it'd go over 140. How good is that? It was a serious mission. Ron and I drove all the way down all night, came down, hooked up, and then lost it after 2.5 hours. Then went out the following day, only got one little rat. And I'll tell you what, we finished off today, 1 hour to go before we drive back to Sydney, and we hook up. Well, we're still here, so we're not back in Sydney, I can tell you that. But I tell you what, how awesome is that? It's just, I don't know, it's just rock my world. Biggest one ever, biggest one we've seen down here. Oh, unbelievable. So that is why you've got to know the rules and regulations, because imagine catching that fish of a lifetime and not being able to claim it for a record. As anglers, we are often very set in our way and we're reluctant to take on new technologies, but we need to embrace technology in a number of ways because it will help us catch more fish. Now, CMAP have just introduced their new bathymetric charts which show the ocean in great detail. For us as anglers, this is huge. We can now suddenly see all the seamounts, the underwater canyons, the ledges, the drop-offs, everything that were before totally invisible to us. And this is where you find the game fish. So by seeing those, we will catch more fish. Recording a catch is much more than just claiming a record. Did you know that all the information we record about our catches can be used by fisheries to better understand and ultimately better manage our fish stocks?
The New South Wales Game Fish Tournament Monitoring Program started in 1994. Since the start of the program, we've had quite a number of vessels that have been involved in providing information. It'd be over 1,000 vessels that have actually contributed to the program in giving us information about their effort and their catch through their fishing in tournaments. We collect information through the radio skeds that are held. It's a mandatory system for safety at sea that all of the tournaments actually use. So this gives us really accurate information about how many boats are actually fishing and also what they've actually caught during their fishing day. But then we also back that up with post-fishing interviews. When the boats come back in from sea, we ask them a series of questions so we get more detailed information about what they're targeting, like what species group they're after, how they're targeting them, like the fishing methods that they're using and the bait types that they're using, and also what they've caught, because there's also other fish that they catch that's not picked up on the radio skeds. So we're able to understand more species really through our post-fishing interviews, such as low point score species such as your mahi-mahis and things like that. We try and get information from as many tournaments as we can each year out of all of the events that are actually held in New South Wales. Information provided by game fishers is used to improve outcomes and strengthen the basis for long-term access rights to the fishery. For example, the Game Fishing Association of Australia have actually used the information that we collect during our research to improve and strengthen negotiations with the Commonwealth regarding issues such as resource sharing between recreational and commercial fisheries, and also the more recent issue regarding the recreational mako shark fishery. So information from this program is really vital also for resource assessments. It really supports scientists in their research. And the reason why it's so useful is because it's a long-term program. So we've got catch and effort data over a really long time period. And that actually is, we're able to feed that information into resource assessments. For example, at the moment we're pulling together information on striped marlin because the Western and Central Pacific Fisheries Commission are actually doing a striped marlin stock assessment next year. And so the information that we've got in our research program is one of very few sources of information on the recreational catch of that species. So it's really, really vital for that process to help understand what's going on with the population of striped marlin in the Western Pacific Ocean. So game fishing tournaments are a really great avenue for science because we're able to collect information about game fishing, and that feeds straight back into the sport. It's both good for the scientists and it's good for the fishermen. With all this extra information that we're able to collect about game fishing to manage the resources, really what that means is that in the future we have more sustainable fisheries and more fish for everyone to catch.
So how cool is that? It's crucial that you send in all the information and data because that will keep us fishing in the future. In a moment we'll show you how to release these fish and even show you a fish-eye view, as well as a few techniques to getting it right. But first, let's take a look at how to tag. Let's find out how to do it and why it is so important.
Tagging isn't difficult to do. There's just a few key things you need to learn about to carry out the tagging in the right way. So the whole idea of tagging is trying to get the tag into the fish without causing it any harm, and so that tag stays in that fish for as long as possible, hopefully till that fish dies. There are many different tag poles available. This is one here. It extends to around 12 feet in length and it's a very good tag pole, but you can actually make your own as well. This is one here. This is a hand tag that I've made. It's actually made out of a piece of dowel, and all I've done is I've drilled into the end there and set the applicator in with some araldite. The main thing it's got to do is actually just deliver the tag into the side of the fish. So obviously you can have one that's longer, so if you had a dowel pole that was 6 to 8 feet long, that would suffice as a perfectly good tagging pole. Or you can have one like this. This can be your emergency tag for if you've got fish at the side of the boat, and you can just use this as a hand tag. Things to think about when you're tagging fish are when you pick up your tag pole, look at the tag and make sure it's loaded properly. You see here, this tag isn't on straight here and this tag can just fall off. So what you do is you pull it down tight, make sure it's held just by one strand of elastic band, don't put it on too tight. Make sure it can freely move on there, and that's ready to go. Make sure that the point of the actual applicator is sticking out beyond the tag so that can actually penetrate the skin of the fish. What we have here is the billfish tag. Now this has been in operation since 2002. We moved to the billfish tag because we found it was the best one for the billfish. It actually had a better retention rate, and that's what it's all about here. What you can see is that it's got a double barb on the end, and it's a nylon tag, and this is meant to go just into the muscle of the fish and then that muscle of the fish will grow around it and stay there for as long as possible. Recently we've actually moved to a yellow tag rather than an orange tag, and this has helped us it's helped with people identifying that tag is on that fish. It's just a lot clearer colour to see. Now what we have here, this is a shark tag. You can see it's quite different than the billfish tag. It's actually got a metal head on it, and it's actually quite sharp. The applicator is slightly different. You actually have to slot it in to the end of the tag here. Again, make sure it's straight, pull it down tight so that it doesn't fall off, and again, make sure the tag sits beyond the applicator so that that is the first part that makes contact with the fish. Very important. And these tags, to actually get into the shark skin, they take a little bit more force, so you need to be a bit more firm with the jab. And finally, we have this other tag. This is called our general pelagic tag. It's the tag that you use for tuna, wahoo, dolphin fish, species like that. It's a very simple tag. It's a nylon head. It's just got a single barb on it. And this tag, you can load into the applicator like this. Again, make sure it's straight, in position. For the billfish and the shark tags, we actually want to get the tags just into the muscle of the fish, and that just goes into the back, the dorsal area of the fish. The different one is the pelagic tag. Ideally, what we want to do is try and get that tag in behind those bones that actually radiate off the second dorsal fin for the tuna, or for something like a dolphin fish, just actually, again, into that area where the bones radiate off the dorsal fin. All the information you need to know about the tagging program and how to tag fish is in this brochure. This is freely available from New South Wales DPI, or you can go to our website and check out the information there.
So that is how you do it. But why we do it is just as critical. And we've learnt some amazing things from the tagging program along the way.
The tagging program covers all the states, from WA all the way around the Northern Territory, all the way around the East Coast, Victoria and South Australia. The tagging program is about tagging the large, highly migratory species and learning more about where they go, what they do. It's one of the largest tagging programs in the world. We've now got about 375,000 fish tagged under the program. And within that, we've got about 7,000 recaptures, so it's a pretty huge program. The species tagged under the program include all the billfish species, so that's all the marlin, the sailfish and the broad-billed swordfish. Then there's all the tuna species and all the shark species. And then we also cover some of the important sport fish, such as the dolphin fish, the large mackerels and wahoo. The game fish tagging program relies on the volunteers of the game fishing sector to help us gather all the data. Without the game fishermen, we wouldn't actually have a tagging program. Some of the amazing recaptures that we've had include a black marlin released off Cairns and recaptured off Costa Rica some 4 years later. We've had a blue marlin released off Sydney, and that was actually recaptured in the Indian Ocean off Sri Lanka. Here recently there was a blue shark recaptured. It was a fish released off South Australia at Port MacDonnell, and it swam all the way across the Indian Ocean all the way to South Africa. In that time it had covered about 5,000 nautical miles, and it had taken about 4 years. Participating in the tag and release program, everybody who does that does their bit to help us learn more and more about these amazing, unique fish that you can experience out in the open ocean. So I urge people to participate in it, try and learn to do it the right way, fill in your tag details and get them back to us. And in doing so, this helps us understand more about how we can manage these fish. And in managing them properly and better, we can do more to help you catch more.
Now, let's look at releasing. Releasing the fish correctly is essential. There's no point in letting them go if they're going to die. There's a couple of things you've got to do. If you can get the hook out, do it. If not, just trim the line as short as possible. If you get a fish that's tail wrapped, simply bring it up, turn it around and get the water going through the gills as quickly as you can. If a fish is tied, make sure you swim it. Hold its head underwater, get the water flowing over the gills, and give it a chance to revive before you set it free. While you're reviving the fish beside the boat, this makes a perfect opportunity to measure it with a piece of rope that's marked and get an accurate reading on its length. Tag and release is amazing, not just for our sport, but for our understanding of these fish. By providing vital information, we can better manage the fishery, and that's good for the whole community. So this is important stuff, but it's also a lot of fun. The rules and regulations are there, not only to help the fish, but to also give us a fair playing field. So get involved, join a game fishing club, and most importantly, go fishing.